Okay, this is the final update to the weather app. I believe I have implemented a reasonable solution to find out whether it works for international weather information as well. So, what I've done now this time round with the weather app is you're allowed to use it for your international location. So, if you were visiting a country, say USA or India, you would run the weather app in your own country, and the weather app will use basically the information that what the way I've coded it. There's two different methods. Initially, I coded it using. You're probably not interested in this, but initially I coded it using a manual setting of the country code. Once you manually set the country code, you can literally get the weather information on this weather app for that country. However, you had to be in the particular time zone and then manually set the country code to be able to get weather information for that country. So now what I've done is slightly different. What I've done is taken out the input of the country code completely, and I've relied upon a different approach, which actually is slightly different. What it does is it actually gets the country code based on your GeoIP address of your location. So the GeoIP address when you're on a website, say if you're surfing the net, you can find your GeoIP address using using a particular web address. And what I've done is use that web address to get my GeoIP location. And once that location is received, I can get the country code from it. So that's what I've done, and it does this automatically by itself. So currently, the weather app, I've got my mobile device in UK. So what it'll do, it'll get the GeoIP location, and then it will return me Great Britain as the country code, and that's what it's being used in the background, which you probably won't be interested in, but I'm just saying how it works it out. And here you can see that the information is London by default city, and you've got the London weather there, and this is currently the weather summary here for the London basically. Again, everything else is the same. You've got your summary at the top, you've got the temperature for between 12 and 2 o'clock, and then you have the minimum and maximum temperature and your cloud summary icon, and then at the bottom it says clouds for the top section of the weather. The middle section is 3 hourly intervals. Again, the 3 hourly intervals are dependent upon the time zone you're in effect, the country you're in. So the 3 hourly intervals can start at 1 or 12 midnight or 2 o'clock in the morning, depending on the time zone you're in. It could even start at basically 1:30 or 12:30. It depends specifically in the time zone you're in, and they will be in 3 hourly intervals regardless of that. And then you can touch the middle section for the 3 hourly intervals and get a more in-depth information at the bottom. As you can see at the bottom with the 1300 hours, wind speed is 4.2 meters per second, wind direction 312 degrees, humidity 69%, pressure 1023 HPA, cloud coverage 20%, and it's a more descriptive information than the one you've got in the middle. It says few clouds. It's slightly more words. Again, they're overcast clouds underneath. It's a slightly more descriptive information. So hopefully you will like this app, and if you do like it, please click like. I haven't tested it. I am unable to test this app simply because you cannot test the geolocation IP using just like changing your time zones. So what I've done is, when I first implemented this, I actually was able to change my time zone on my mobile device and statically select the country code. And when I selected the country code, it did work for those time zones. Though that piece of the code is still the same code in the background. However, the only piece of code that I've changed, because it was a lot of code there to change, manually select the country code, I've taken that bit out and I've relied upon the country code being set by a geo IP address. And once that's done, what it does is use the same set of code that allows you to show the weather for various different countries. So for this particular approach, again, I can select any city in within UK, Great Britain, and I will get the weather for that. One other thing to bear in mind here is I am not validating any of the zip codes or city codes whilst within this app itself. So there is no data validation being carried out within this app. So it really relies upon the user being able to put the correct zip code in or the correct city in for this particular country that the mobile device is in. So if I was in America and I was visiting America, I would have to put Washington DC in correctly as the city or the place I want the weather forecast for. I can't put that in right now simply because I'm not within that country. When I'm in that country, the GeoIP will pick that up and then it will give me that address saying that I'm actually in United States, and it will give me the weather for that country whilst I'm within the country. So other countries like India and wherever you're traveling to, say Turkey, once you're within the country, it will auto update your give you an update of the weather for that particular country. You have to make sure that you actually know which city or zip code you're in, because I make no effort here to validate the city or the zip code within the app itself. I could do that, but I'm trying not to do that, get myself not to do that, simply because for me to validate the city code or the zip code, I would have to rely upon a file, JSON file, which has a list of cities in there, and I can cross-reference them with the country code and check that that the city that you've entered in manually is actually one of the cities that exist within this country, and it would be validated then. But that file, that would double or triple the size of the app itself. So what I've done is I've tried to steer away from data validation and user input validation, and basically just leave the information to the user to put it in correctly. So if you don't put your zip code in correctly, you'll get incorrect information, obviously, in terms of weather forecast. Again, I do rely heavily upon the user, but then almost everyone does. This is to make sure the app size stays small as opposed to a larger app size. So hopefully this will work the way it's meant to within other countries as well. As you can see at the top, I'm actually using a 3G connection for this. You can use Wi-Fi as well. It does work with Wi-Fi or 3G connection, data connection. It will also work with a 4G data connection. But at the moment, I'm using a data connection and my Wi-Fi is turned off, as you can see. So hopefully, if you do like this, please click like, and to close the app, home button, and just swipe away. At the moment, I haven't implemented the exit, how to exit the app, but that'll be fine. I mean,